From the great halls of their house, there are assembled three who hope to one day be the world's greatest driving heroes. Created from the cosmic legends of the universe comes our team captain, the Vision, Bill Fisher. Their soon-to-be Wonder Woman, Vicki Fisher. Our Captain Marvel and head flight trainee, Jennifer Skripchuk. And our Batman, the master of tools, gadgets, and all things mechanical, our mild-mannered soon-to-be billionaire, Alan Danvers. Their mission, to fight injustice, share what is right and wrong, to get you out of your house and come out racing with them, and serve all mankind. They are the Garage Heroes in Training Team.
Welcome to the Dominating with Dawson podcast. I don't know. Keep running out of intros for this. It's hard. 100 of these bad boys. Can't come up with them on the spot. We've got...
I'd like to dominate.
Ben wants to dominate. Ladies, would you like to dominate?
Sure. I'm ready to dominate.
Right.
Yes, sir.
Wow. The enthusiasm. We're going to go for it anyway.
It's been a day.
It has been a
We're
day.
good, but we're really happy to see Ben. Always happy to see Ben.
Always happy to see Ben.
I saw a lot of garage pictures from you people, so I think it's been a busy day.
Yep. All right. So, Ben Dawson, I don't know if I've asked you this before 3 times. and none of us could ever figure out what we were talking about. So it ended up being, obviously some of the more popular Dominating with Dawsons that we've had. But
That
we
sounds
actually,
on brand.
yeah, kind of sometimes. We have actually found a short article describing what Lift Off Oversteer could be. Who knew?
Okay.
So we're talking about like lift, throttle, oversteer, that kind of deal?
Yeah.
Okay, gotcha.
So much like Bigfoot, we finally have evidence of what this is.
Okay.
Really?
We do.
Let's dig into that.
It's found. So according to our article, it says that the driver is entering the corner, and at the apex, they start to come back to the gas. And they're not looking far enough, and they realize that they're going to run wide. And then they lift off their turn, the throttle, at the end of the turn, and try to turn the wheel sharper to keep the car on the track. Is this a good plan, sir?
No, that is an error. So the oversteer is really this term is really just spinning the car out of the corner is what that means, right?
Ben's like, I never did it, but I've done that.
Yeah, I definitely spun the car out of the corner. Yeah, I know. I was definitely had some misconceptions about this term. This is definitely one of those terms where I heard people say a lot, and since that wasn't something I encountered very much, I just kind of dismiss it like as old man track talk. You know what I mean?
Because you don't drive Porsches.
Yeah, because also I had made the sort of mistaken assumption that this is something to do just as much with what car you were driving as something you do as a driver. So I had heard it about Hondas and heard it about Porsches, but never very much about the kind of small rear wheel drive stuff I was driving. It wasn't something that happened to me on tracks. I was like, I've never lifted off. Like once I'm committed to the throttle, usually I'm not going to lift off. But so yeah, it was kind of a foreign concept that I ignored. So it's good to know what it actually is, and it sounds like it's just an error that puts your chassis in a bind and spins you off, right?
Seems that way. Get that snap oversteer.
Yeah, you're asking for way more traction than your vehicle's got, so your tires are just going to give up, and you're going to head one way or the other in a bad direction.
And you've decided to take weight off the tires already by lifting off, so now you can't turn even more. So, Miss Vicki, have you encountered this Bigfoot of car racing, the Lift Off Oversteer?
If I did, I didn't realize it.
Okay. Miss Jen, how about you? Have you had this?
Not that I recall.
Okay. So ladies, we're gonna go. What, me? Ben? What?
Ben had one.
I realized I had the more we talked about it, I had a good lift throttle oversteer quick one that I could say is here's what happened to me.
Okay.
Yes, I would love to hear the story.
Let's have the third lady of the podcast, Ben.
Oh,
that's right. happy to be here. So we started talking about this. I realized that for my very first track day, it was a Porsche Club track day in my Miata, and I had I had 200 trail tires on like we race now, so nothing crazy. And I had an instructor in the car. I was brand new in the green group, and I spun. It was, of course, at VIR. I spun coming out of turn 3 in somebody's oil. this is one of those places where they were pretty severe. Like, you have 2 offs, you're going home no matter what happens. Like, you could go off the track twice, you're packing it up and going home, or you're done. It's one of those kind of deals. I'm like, I paid a ton of money to be here. It's my very first track event, so I'm already like 1 strike as far as putting my tires off. So my instructor had been telling me this turn, South Bend, turn 10, and you can go way faster than you're going. You're slowing down too much for it. This is a really high speed corner. So I'm trying to, throw more and more speed at it, every session. And at one point I was going too hard and spooked myself. And so I tried to let off right after you've gone across the apex. You're headed that toward that kind of daunting track out at turn 10 at VIR. And I thought, oh crap, I'm going to go off again. So the cheapskate is like, here's how much money you're about to lose if you go off and get kicked out of this track day. So all this happened, and I start sawing the wheel because the car is trying to spin, but I'm not going to let it. So I beat the lift off oversteer, the throttle off oversteer. I just kind of saw the wheel and fought it, and barely kept the car on the track. And I think I got a standing ovation from the workers at the oak tree, because there was still an oak tree there. By the time I got there, they were all pretty happy to see me. So it did try to get me very early on. So maybe that's where I learned to counteract it, and didn't see it much after that. But yeah, that's a really high speed corner. I tried to let off, like, oh, I got too much. I just tried to let off the throttle. The car's like, whoa! I'm doing my hand motions back and forth for the audience who can't see.
That's okay. So, ladies,
yeah, I've been there.
So, ladies, I don't think either one of you have ever had lift off oversteer. However, let's pretend that we're going through this and we're going into a turn, and we're reaching the apex. And obviously, our 2 ladies their vision is perfect, so we don't have to worry about that. But you're realizing that you go back to the throttle and you realize, I'm going too wide. What do you do? What do you do?
Going too wide.
Like, if you stay with your current path and throttle position, you're going to drive off the exit.
So what do you do?
Oh my God.
What do you do? What are your options? Let's go with that first.
I brake.
Okay,
brake, and I kind of, I brake.
Are you a right foot braker or a left foot braker?
I'm a left foot braker.
Okay, so
I'm a right foot braker.
Okay, the right one's the one on that side, and the left one's the one on the other side.
Well,
okay.
It depends on.
So you're not only going to do lift off oversteer, you're going to add to it and hit the brakes.
I honestly, I don't even know what I do in the pit. I mean, in that driver's seat, I just know that I control the car and I just make it do what I want it to do. And I try to explain it. It's just different. Maybe it's just because the muscle memory is not there yet. Maybe
there's a reason why this is called Dominate with Dawson and not Victories with Vicki.
All right. Well, I
love that. We should do
somebody's really gunning for something.
But you know what? I just don't know if things aren't muscle memory enough. I mean, maybe I only have like the muscle memory and I don't have an explanation for the muscle memory yet. Does that make sense? Is that something?
Well, on your way to being an instructor.
No, but I'm serious. Yeah, I'm not. Yeah. But does that make any sense? Trying to explain what you do while you're in it?
I am not going to vote on this because I feel like sleeping in the bed tonight and not the bathtub. So Ben, what do you think about this?
Yeah, I mean, if you know that letting off the throttle is going to cause you some grief, like, if you're in if the chassis is so loaded and bound up, on the exit of a corner, a big example of this that I can think of that a lot of people might be able to relate to is, turn 5 at Road Atlanta. You go in there, it's a pretty fast corner, and you come out pretty loaded up, and it's uphill, so you can kind of carry even a little more traction than you usually could out of the compression of the hill. And so I think sometimes people get overconfident, but there's a spectator area right outside of turn 5 where you can just stand there and watch people just, spin off to the left all day because they, it's a is that a left turn? Yeah.
It's a left.
Yeah, so people get too much rotation and they spin off to the left, and it's just a place where it's your car is so loaded up. If you don't just stay with your arc and your trajectory and your throttle position, if you decide I need to turn the wheel a little more, or you decide I need to let off the gas and try to get a little more steering angle, that tendency at that area is you're going to spin out to the left. So that's one place where it can happen a lot, and I think the reaction that causes you to go off the track is just trying to ask for more traction than the car is going to give you or has. So, a lot of times I might start kind of sawing the wheel, maybe let off a little bit while I'm trying to do that. But you got to do something to break the tension. to get before the car is going to give you enough grip to sort of regain composure and go where you want it to go. Or even at worst, if you know you're going to go off, sometimes maybe you just let the car go where it needs to go, even if it's putting a couple tires off. You're just probably going to need to deal with it. You may have to go in the pits and explain what happened, but the thing that I do is to try to fix it in a way where you're asking for science fiction levels of grip out of a car that's got 200 trim or tire grip.
That, ladies and gentlemen, is why Ben Dawson does not end up sleeping in the tub, and I do. So, Miss Jen,
Yes.
you're going around the turn. I'm going to pick a turn for you. You're going around the keyhole in Mid-Ohio, the big U-turn.
Okay.
Okay?
Yeah.
You're going around. You hit the apex. You start pushing the gas a little bit. Your car starts to drift wide. It's going wide. What do you do? What do you do? Or what could
Turn
you
harder.
do? Turn harder. You could do that. But the car's already not turning, so it's not going to listen.
Oh.
Right?
Probably just take my foot off the gas.
Take your foot off the gas. So you want
Right.
lift off oversteer. Ben, how we doing? What are you thinking?
Well, you were just listing off the two things we were saying will make you spin out. So far F plus maybe.
F, but there was effort
for talking.
There was effort there.
Talking, yeah.
It's hard to say. You're in it, and it's just.
How about this? Can you phone a friend, Jen?
I guess instructing doesn't count for I go by feel.
Yeah. Excuse me, Mr. Instructor, Mrs. Instructor. What do I do in this term? I just go by feel.
Yeah, it's not
the great answer.
How about composed answer?
How about this? I know what Jen does.
What do I do, Bill? Because I need to know.
Jen is probably one of our most consistent drivers and probably one of our most conservative drivers at this point.
Consistently wrong?
No, because you do this right. That's why you don't get this. Okay. What you tend to do is you say, I'm going off. I'm going to take my medicine. I'm just going to go off straight, drive down a little bit, and I'll get back on. It's not the end of the world. Even if I get a black flag for 2 off on some of the racing series we do, for many series, it doesn't really matter. Sometimes you just take your medicine because if you try to fix it, that's when things can go bad. And I've seen you.
Right. Yeah, you're right.
That's a good point. Yes, that's a very good point.
I mean, sometimes you could lift. I think, and again, we're working off this definition in this scenario here. I think the issue is really not that you can't lift off partially, but you can't just abruptly lift off fully.
Right.
Because then you're throwing all the weight off of the turning tires, which is what you want. Maybe you could back off slightly. I don't know. Is that feasible to you, Ben?
Yeah. So the big message here, you're going to have to come off the throttle. You can't keep it pinned. If you got the throttle pinned and it's driving you toward the wall, you are eventually going to have to come off the throttle and change your trajectory. But the way to do it that will hurt you is to make a huge abrupt change. If you've already got the wheel turned to a certain degree and you're not getting the steering that should give you, you're understeering. Throwing a bunch of more steering angle in the same direction you've already got some pulled isn't going to do anything for you. It's asinine. It's tough to realize that it's happening, but you're already got the wheel turned. It's not turning. It's not like turning anymore is gonna do you any good. So that's something that's just going to be ineffective and likely to upset your car and spin you out. The same thing with the throttle. If you just dive off the throttle completely, if you were 75% or 100% leaving the corner of your throttle position, and then all of a sudden you just jump out, that's a big upset to the chassis too. So like I said, discretion is the better. What is it? Discretion is the better part of valor.
Sometimes.
but yeah, even if it's a lemons race where you're going to end up spending 10 minutes off track explaining what you did in the penalty box or whatever it is, you're going to lose some time in competition. But if you're going to have to catch a consequence where putting 2 wheels off is going to cost you 10 minutes, it's a lot it feels like it's going to hurt right then, but it's a lot less of a consequence of putting your car on the wall, right?
Absolutely. Does that make sense?
Or spinning out, or spinning in the middle of traffic and getting hit. But also something to think about too. When you decide to take your lumps and let the wheel go straight and just go off track, just try to consider what the curbing is like out there. Where the curb drops off, because hopefully at the point where you decide to just sort of open the wheel up and let it happen, you'll get a little bit of control. It's control in the direction you don't want to be going, but hopefully you'll have a little bit of control when the car starts to settle down by the time you're angling off the track. So just try to be cognizant of what it's going to be like when you get off, and try to keep your wheels straight enough to let things sort out, and be in mind that you don't want to go back across the track. So it might be a situation where you do spin, but maybe it's not as bad as it was, but not as bad as it was going to be. But think about both feet in and make sure you sort of lock the car down once it's finished spinning and won't go back across the track. But it's okay to make the decision that I'm going to have to go ahead and let this car spin off or go off here to avoid a bigger consequence, I guess is what I'm getting at. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
And just make sure you know the rules of what session you're running with. If you're practicing before a race with a track day group, like this last race I did, I forgot it was a track day, so I'm out there just passing people like crazy. I'm surprised I didn't get any flags with nobody. I forgot that I needed a point pass, so I'm out there just driving like it's normal racetrack practice. But anyway. So they might have also said, if you go off, you need to come in for a black flag, just to talk to the guy and let him look at your car. That's a pretty common rule at a track day or something like that. So just be aware of what the rules are regarding upset conditions and going off the track. But sometimes you just need to take the L, go off the track just to save the car, say for your own safety in traffic or whatever reason. We all do it. It's nobody's gonna pull your race car driver card for going off the track. It's really embarrassing at the moment, but it sucks way less than losing a car.
A little mistake is better than a big mistake because you ran out of skill or got yourself into something that you can't fix.
Let's talk about on-track mitigation. What can we do? What do you think, Bill?
I think your choices are kind of limited in the scenario they've laid out. It's anything abrupt, you're going to be in trouble. So maybe you could lift a little bit, or maybe you could back off on the steering just a little bit and see if it responds appropriately, and then maybe that might be enough. If you do too much weight shift, you're gonna cause this problem. You've really the best thing to do, and it doesn't help you at this point in time, is to prevent it from getting to this point. So you've got a compounding series of errors that you're paying for at the end that are all from the beginning, which means you weren't looking far enough down track to see what kind of real estate you had, and you put yourself in a box that's too small to fit your car.
That was another thing that the article said. I don't know if you read it, I may have missed it, but when I was reading through that description of Lift Off Oversteer, the article goes like, 1, this happened. 2, this happened. 3, you weren't looking far enough ahead and you did this. You know what I mean? I guess I didn't really associate it with like it being that much of the cause, but yeah, the article's like, you didn't look far enough ahead, now you're spinning out. So I mean, I'm sure that's part of it. It's not something I think about all the time, but yeah, you got to be always kind of looking at where you want to be, right?
Mm-hmm. I think there's kind of two types of drivers. There's the ones who have really good vision skills, and they're looking far and they're giving themselves some time. And then there's others who work from memory, and they know where the track is because they've done so many laps there, and they just kind of autopilot because they know, okay, this one's a turn about this big and I got about that much on the other side and I don't really have to worry about it, or this one's going to have a descending radius turn and I've really got to worry about this. And I'm concerned, especially with our endurance racing, that perhaps the ladies have become memory drivers and not vision drivers, because that's
probably a good thing we know the tracks that we go to.
So something to work on.
Yeah.
Perhaps.
Sometimes that's not a bad thing too. Right now.
None of us are
to hone skills and then go out and practice those skills.
Yep.
You guys are kind of building a tool chest of track skills that will eventually lead to you realizing, at the apex, realizing, when you hit the gas at the apex and something's a little off, maybe backing it off a little bit there. Like ideally we want to be committed as soon as you map the throttle and set your steering arc, that's going to be it. But it doesn't always happen that way. You never know. There's a bunch of gravel down at the apex or whatever. But be prepared to adjust your approach. And a lot of times, if I catch a weird feeling at the apex or right as I'm trying to get on the gas, usually if I'm lucky a little bit before the apex, but if something doesn't feel right, then I could try to make a quick adjustment, maybe whip the steering wheel back and forth a little bit to kind of get the traction going again. But I'd like to catch it earlier than that. If you're well on your way out to the apex curbing and then realize you have a problem, that's kind of some rookie stuff. And it's what you guys are working to build a vocabulary of sensations to avoid. Like, that didn't feel right. I'm going to try to back off. But the sooner you can catch the mistake, the sooner it doesn't become a mistake anybody else can see. Like if you watch videos of me driving, it looks like I'm about to wreck all the time if I'm in a fun car. But from the outside, it does not look that way that much,
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know what I think we just accomplished?
What's that?
We aren't going to have another Lift Off Oversteer dominate with Dawson. I think we finally did it.
There we go.
Yeah, I think the key to not doing it, because the more I'm understanding about it, the more I'm understanding it's a pretty big rookie move where you committed all the way through the corner until you're on the way to the apex curve and then thought, oh shit. That's not where you want to be. Like you want to be able to have enough experience and enough seat time under your belt where you realize, maybe even before you try to get to the throttle, like, whoa, I'm not in the right spot, or maybe I need to delay this throttle application. But ideally, I think the biggest way to mitigate it, like Bill mentioned, is just to build a skill set that lets you know the problem is headed your way before you're all the way out trying to be at the exit curve. We're like, oh.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's kind of like when you early apex.
Yeah.
The problem's not that you can't save it at the end. The problem is you apex early.
Right, yeah. I mean, like for me, I like to early apex a lot of stuff when I can for traffic reasons, but I'm doing the math on what I can get away with an early apex versus other kinds of apexes.
Well, you're early apexing and acknowledging what your track out position is going to be. This is an early apex.
That's what I mean. Yeah, it's exactly what I mean. Like, be cognizant of what you're doing. Don't do it. They're like, whoops. Because I know I'm going to have to adjust my approach. I can't take a turn exactly the same way if I early apex it.
I'm out of gray stuff. I have lots of this gray stuff, but I don't have any gray stuff. It's not quite the same.
I mean, not to get off on early apexing too much, but also part of my calculation is, even if I have to compromise that stuff a little bit with an early apex, I'm still going to be fast enough to whip this guy's butt coming out the corner. So, you know what I mean? If I've been around this person for a couple laps catching up to them, I know what they're going to be able to do in traffic, what they can't. So there's all this kind of driving math that goes on, even if you're not thinking about it. And the more of this you do, the more mechanical it all becomes. Like, Jen's coming through the keyhole or whatever, and like, this doesn't feel right where I'm trying to get off, so I'm just going to delay the throttle application, let the car get under control a little bit better, then get into it, that sort of thing.
And the best way to be able to do this type of calculations in your head without even doing math is to listen to Dominate with Dawson.
That's right.
That's right. I'm not doing any real math. I'm a Latin major. If I don't have the calculator open on my Windows work computer, I'm not doing any math.
My kinetic energy is 1/2 mv squared.
That's right.
Yes. Okay. So we've dominated with
All right.
Dawson. Thank you, sir.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks.
Thanks, Ben.
We've got a couple ideas. If we could just get a couple done tonight, that would be fantastic. So we don't have to go long.
A couple dominatings that we're talking about.
Couple dominatings, little dominating.
Y'all have some inspiration, some things you're excited to get into.
I do not believe that the girls have any inspiration, nor do they know how to spell inspiration tonight. But we're going to go through anyway. We're going to revive them just a bit.
Stocks.
This is the first smile we've gotten from Vicki since I've been on, since
okay.
7:45, and Miss Jen is still awake, so we're calling that a win. We're going to do Lift Off Oversteer for the 4th time.
Mm-hmm.
The definitive.
That's right. We finally can answer this question as opposed to just walking around it. All right. Ladies, you ready?
Mhm.
Yeah, we're ready.
Wow,
Do you-
so
do you-
excited.
Do